has reached its 10th day. Over the weekend, military operations in the Middle East took a dramatic uptick.
And also, Iran's Assembly of Experts met at a secret location to appoint their new supreme leader. Alan Devlin, studio with the latest. Alan?
Yeah, ladies, in the last hour or so, CBS News spoke directly with the president, Donald Trump himself, who said the war is all but over and oil prices in the Strait of Hormuz right here is top of mind. Its hypothetical closure here has been a big reason oil prices have risen. Trump saying today he's not ruling out taking it over. An apocalyptic scene out of Tehran over the weekend after Allied forces strike an oil refinery, turning the night sky bright orange and causing oil to mix with the clouds coming back to Earth as rainfall the next day. The increased military activity, part of President Trump's vow to end the war. In a phone interview with CBS News Monday afternoon, President Trump says he thinks the war is very complete, pretty much, and adds we are very ahead of schedule. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke on the war Monday.
I want everyone to know your military is getting the job done. Every single day, this regime in Iran has less missiles, has less launchers, their factories work less, and their navy is being eviscerated. And the world is going to be a safer and a better place when this mission is accomplished.
Also Monday, Iranians gather across the country to pledge allegiance to the newly appointed Supreme Leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, killed by Allied forces in the conflict. Trump's response to the appointment, simple, that he's not happy. Meanwhile, as a result of the war, oil prices have surged, topping out above $100 a barrel Monday as a result of the war, the highest since 2022. But according to some, this might be the topping out point. Energy Secretary Chris Wright on Face the Nation.
They shouldn't go much higher than they are here because the world is very well supplied with oil.
Donald Trump says he has a fix for the oil prices as Senator Chuck Schumer calls on him to tap into the nation's oil reserves. And the president is expected to address the nation this evening around 5:30. CBS News will be bringing that report to you all live. And again, ladies, that's happening in just about 30 minutes. Will it have anything to do with the Strait of Hormuz? We will find out soon enough.
All right, Alan, thank you so much.
Well, the interview that was done with the president was with CBS News' senior White House correspondent, Weijia Jiang. She joins us now live with more on what that conversation was like. So, Weijia, we heard Alan just report that the president said that the war is very complete, pretty much. Please add some context to what that statement means.
Well, first, it is great to be with you. And I did talk to President Trump over the phone this afternoon. And you might remember that when he first launched these strikes, he estimated that the war would last about 4 to 5 weeks. So I asked him what percentage of the war he thought was complete. And that's when he said that he felt like the war was very much complete, essentially saying that Iran no longer has any military capability to go further. He also said that the U.S. is actually way ahead of the schedule that I asked him about, that 4 to 5 weeks. What's important is I explicitly asked him, so, Mr. President, it sounds like the war could wrap up soon. And he said, I don't know, it depends. And wrapping up is only in my mind and nobody else's. But he certainly projected optimism that there was going to be some sort of a resolution sooner than later. He did not commit to any time frame, but again, he said it was happening. He said that there was victory quicker than anticipated. And I should say that the president is actually speaking live right now down in Florida, and we're monitoring that. But he already said we've already won against Iran, but we haven't won enough. We are determined to achieve total victory over this terrorist regime. So it tracks with what the president told me with regard to, he believes things are going very well.
But Weijia, at the same time, the defense secretary today said we reserve the right to deploy troops. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, wouldn't rule out the possibility of a draft in this war. It's polarizing for the American people. A lot of people have questions and fears. Did the president say anything to you about that, public sentiment or anything along those lines?
We did not talk about the very unpopular opinion overall of this war that we have seen in various polling, including at CBS News. I should clarify that it's more an uncertainty around it, right? The president continues to maintain support in his base, but there are still questions about his objectives and exactly what they are. And to your point, it is challenging sometimes when other administration officials offer a different assessment of what the president does. But he is the commander-in-chief, and ultimately, what he says carries the most weight. That said, it can be challenging also because we don't know if he will change or contradict a previous statement, which we had seen also. I mean, like I said, he initially said that this war could last about a month, but then he went on to say that the U.S. has enough munitions and weapons to go on forever. And so it really matters when the president says what he says, but until he definitively declares that the war is over, that the U.S. is pulling out, that the U.S. has stopped all strikes and launches, it's not over until the president says so. And we're waiting to hear if he says anything like that during this press conference in a bit. Our colleagues are down there in Florida and will be, I'm sure, pressing him on more clarity on this timeline.
Yep.
Weijia Jiang, CBS's senior White House correspondent and former teammate to us here at CBS New York. Weijia, it's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do stay with us for continuing coverage of the war with Iran. As we mentioned, President Trump expected to speak around 5:30 in about 15 minutes. When that happens, of course, we'll bring it to you